Zara's trembling fingers searched the empty nightstand drawer for the third time, her heart pounding against her ribs like a caged bird desperate for freedom. The antique jewelry boxes that had sat beside her hospital bed for 2 weeks were gone. Not just moved. Gone. The mahogany box with pearl inlays that held her grandmother's diamond earrings. The silver music box that played her mother's favorite song. The hand-carved wooden box filled with her wedding jewelry and precious memories spanning 3 generations of strong women in her family. They must have moved them for cleaning, she whispered to herself, but her voice cracked with the lie. No hospital staff would touch personal items that valuable. She knew it. Her chest tightened, and not from the surgery that had kept her bedridden. Ryan walked into the room carrying 2 cups of coffee, his face wearing that practiced smile she'd grown to recognize over their 8 years of marriage. The same smile he used with difficult clients. The same smile he'd worn when he forgot their anniversary last year. "Morning, beautiful. How are you feeling?" He set the coffee on the rolling table and leaned down to kiss her forehead. His cologne was different. Expensive. No. "Ryan, where are my jewelry boxes?" The words tumbled out before she could stop them. "They were right here yesterday when you left." His face went blank for just a moment. Just long enough for her to catch it. "What jewelry boxes?" The question hit her like ice water. "My grandmother's boxes. My mother's music box. They were right here on the nightstand." "Babe, I don't know what you're talking about. You didn't bring any jewelry boxes to the hospital." He pulled the visitor's chair closer to her bed, his movements too casual, too rehearsed. "Ryan." Her voice dropped low, dangerous. "Don't lie to me. I've been staring at those boxes every day for 2 weeks. They helped me get through the pain. Maybe the pain medication is making you confused." He reached for her hand, but she pulled away. "You know how those drugs can affect your memory?" Zara felt something cold settle in her stomach. In 8 years, Ryan had never dismissed her like this. Never made her question her own reality. She watched his face carefully as she spoke again. "The mahogany box with the pearl inlays. It had my grandmother's diamond earrings, the ones from 1943 that she wore to her first date with Grandpa Joe." Ryan's left eye twitched. The same twitch that appeared whenever he lied about working late. "I really think you're imagining things, Zara. Maybe you should rest." She reached for her phone on the nightstand, scrolling through her photos. "I have pictures." Her fingers moved frantically across the screen. "I took pictures of them when you first brought them here because the nurse said she'd never seen such beautiful antique pieces. But the photos weren't there." Her photo album from the past 2 weeks showed only hospital meals, get well flowers, and visitors. Nothing else. "Ryan, did you delete my photos?" "What? No. Why would I do that?" But his voice pitched higher, the way it did when he was caught in a lie about their finances. Zara's mind raced. Someone had accessed her phone. Someone who knew her passcode. Her heart hammered as pieces began clicking into place. The new cologne. The designer watch he was wearing. The fresh haircut that must have cost $200. All while she was lying in a hospital bed, recovering from emergency surgery. "I need some air," Ryan said suddenly, standing up. "I'm going to take a walk around the hospital." "Don't leave. We need to talk about this." "There's nothing to talk about. You're confused and I'm worried about you." He was already moving toward the door. "I'll be back in an hour." The moment he left, Zara reached for his jacket hanging on the chair. Her hands shook as she searched the pockets, not sure what she was looking for but knowing she had to look. In the inside pocket, her fingers found a crumpled receipt. She smoothed it out and read the words that would change everything. "Elegant Events Planning Final Payment for Birthday Extravaganza Package $15,000 Date. 2 days ago payment method. Cash." Below that, another receipt from the same company. Tiffany & Company. Custom diamond necklace $8,000 cash payment. And another. Premium party rentals champagne fountain, gold chair covers, crystal centerpieces $5,000. Her world tilted. $28,000 in cash payments. While she was fighting for her life in surgery, someone was planning a birthday extravaganza. Someone who wasn't her because her birthday was in January, 6 months away. The final receipt made her blood turn to ice. Precious metals exchange sale of antique jewelry collection $35,000 items. 3 antique jewelry boxes and contents seller. Ryan Mitchell. Her vision blurred. Not from pain medication. From rage so pure it felt like lightning in her veins. Her husband had sold her family heirlooms while she was unconscious in surgery. Sold them to pay for another woman's birthday party. Zara grabbed her phone and dialed the number on the precious metals exchange receipt. "Hello, this is Zara Mitchell. My husband Ryan sold some jewelry boxes to you 2 days ago. I need to know if they're still available. Oh, Mrs. Mitchell. Your husband said you were moving overseas and needed to liquidate quickly. Beautiful pieces. I'm sorry, but they sold this morning to a private collector in New York. The buyer was specifically looking for pieces from that era. The phone slipped from her hand and clattered to the floor. Gone. Her grandmother's earrings that survived the Depression. Her mother's music box that played their song at her parents' wedding. Her own wedding jewelry. All of it sold to fund another woman's celebration while Zara fought for her life. She closed her eyes and saw her grandmother's face, telling her stories about those earrings. How she'd worked double shifts at the factory to buy them for herself because no man should be the source of a woman's shine. How she'd passed them down with the promise that they would always stay in the family. Ryan had broken that promise. He'd broken everything. But as Zara lay there in that hospital bed, surrounded by the sterile smell of antiseptic and the constant beeping of machines, she felt something new growing inside her chest. Not the devastating heartbreak she expected. Not the crushing betrayal that should have destroyed her. No. What grew inside Zara Mitchell was something far more dangerous. Cold, calculating rage. The kind that didn't explode. The kind that planned. Zara stared at the ceiling tiles, counting them for the 100th time as she waited for Ryan to return. 144 tiles. Each one a small piece of her crumbling world. Her phone buzzed with a text message, and her heart jumped, thinking it might be Ryan with an explanation that could somehow make sense of the receipts burning a hole in her memory. Instead, it was from her best friend Nicole. Hope you're feeling better. Saw Ryan's Instagram story last night. Looks like he's been keeping busy while you recover. Instagram story? Ryan barely used social media. Zara opened the app with shaking fingers and navigated to his profile. What she saw there made her stomach drop into a bottomless pit. A video from the night before showed a lavish party in full swing. Golden decorations everywhere. A champagne fountain exactly like the one on the receipt. Beautiful people laughing and dancing. And there, in the center of it all, was a stunning blonde woman wearing a diamond necklace that caught the light like captured stars. The same necklace from the Tiffany receipt. Zara screenshotted everything before the story disappeared. The woman looked young, maybe 25. Her dress probably cost more than most people's rent. She was surrounded by friends singing happy birthday, and at the end of the video she blew out candles on a cake that must have cost a fortune. The caption made Zara's blood freeze. When your man makes all your dreams come true. Best birthday ever. Love you, baby. Tagged, Ryan Mitchell. Her husband of 8 years. The man who'd promised to love and cherish her in sickness and in health. The man who was supposed to be by her bedside, worried about her recovery. With trembling fingers, Zara clicked on the woman's profile. Brittany Chin. 24 years old. Marketing coordinator at some trendy company downtown. Her feed was full of expensive restaurants, designer clothes, and luxury vacations. And Ryan. Ryan was in dozens of photos going back over a year. Zara scrolled through a timeline of betrayal. There was Ryan at fancy dinners while she thought he was working late. Ryan on weekend trips while she believed he was at business conferences. Ryan buying expensive jewelry, taking romantic selfies, living a completely different life. A life that cost money they didn't have. Her phone rang. Ryan's ringtone. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Hey babe. How are you feeling? His voice was artificially cheerful. I'm feeling like I want to know who Brittany is. Silence. Long, guilty silence. I don't know what you're talking about. Your Instagram story. The birthday party. The 24-year-old blonde wearing an $8,000 necklace. She heard him curse under his breath. Zara, I can explain. Explain how you sold my grandmother's jewelry to pay for your girlfriend's birthday party while I was unconscious in surgery? It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. Her voice was steady now, cold as winter morning. How long? Zara. How long have you been cheating on me? Another long pause. A year. The honesty hit worse than the lie would have. A full year of deception. A full year of him coming home to her after being with someone else. A full year of her believing they were working through their problems while he was creating new ones. I was going to tell you. When? After you sold everything I owned to fund your other relationship? I needed the money. You needed my grandmother's earrings? The party was important to her. More important than your wife fighting for her life? Silence again. Where are you right now? Zara asked. I'm at the hospital. She looked toward the door. Empty hallway. No, you're not. I'm in the parking lot. Ryan, stop lying to me. Where are you? Aside. I'm at Brittany's apartment. The final piece of her heart cracked clean through. While she lay alone in a hospital bed, discovering his betrayal through receipts and social media posts, he was with the other woman, probably comforting her about the party being exposed. Are you coming back to the hospital? Do you want me to? The question revealed everything. He didn't want to face her. Didn't want to deal with the consequences of what he'd done. He wanted to stay in his fantasy world where he could have both lives without accountability. I want you to answer one question honestly. Okay. Did you ever love me? Really love me? Or was I just convenient until something better came along? The pause before his answer told her everything she needed to know. Of course I loved you. Past tense. Ryan. Yeah. Don't come back to the hospital. Don't come to the house. Don't call me. Zara, we need to talk about this. No. We needed to talk about this a year ago. Before you started cheating. Before you stole my family heirlooms. Before you chose her over me while I was fighting for my life. I never chose her over you. You sold my grandmother's jewelry to buy her birthday presents. You chose her every single day for a year. She could hear him breathing on the other end of the line. What happens now? He asked. Now you get to explain to everyone why your wife is divorcing you. You get to tell your parents why you won't be coming to Sunday dinners anymore. You get to figure out how to pay me back for the $35,000 you stole. I didn't steal anything. We're married. It's community property. My grandmother's jewelry was inherited. It was mine before we married. You committed theft, Ryan. Actual criminal theft. She could practically hear him calculating, trying to figure out his legal exposure. You're upset right now. When you're feeling better, we can work this out. I'm not upset. I'm done. She hung up and immediately blocked his number. Then she called Nicole. Nicole, I need a lawyer. A really good one. The kind that destroys cheating husbands and makes them pay for every single thing they've stolen. What happened? Ryan sold my grandmother's jewelry to pay for his girlfriend's birthday party while I was unconscious in surgery. That son of a... Can you come to the hospital? And bring your laptop. I have screenshots to show you, and we need to figure out how to get everything back. I'm on my way. After she hung up, Zara lay back against her pillows and smiled for the first time in weeks. Not a happy smile. A smile that would have made her grandmother proud. The same smile Grandma wore when she told stories about surviving the Depression. About fighting for every scrap of dignity when the world tried to tear it away from her. Ryan thought he'd won. Thought he'd gotten away with his perfect crime while she was too sick to fight back. He had no idea what he'd just unleashed. Nicole burst through the hospital door like a hurricane in designer heels, her laptop bag slung over her shoulder and fire in her dark eyes. As one of the best family lawyers in the city, she'd seen every kind of betrayal, but the fury radiating from her told Zara this case was personal. Show me everything, Nicole demanded, pulling up a chair and opening her laptop. For the next 3 hours, they built a case that would have made prosecutors weep with joy. Nicole's fingers flew across the keyboard as she documented every screenshot, every receipt, every social media post that painted the picture of Ryan's elaborate deception. This is worse than I thought, Nicole muttered, scrolling through Brittany's Instagram feed. Look at this post from 6 months ago. The photo showed Brittany at an expensive spa, getting a massage. The caption read, "When your sugar daddy sends you for a relaxation day because he knows you're stressed about work. Some girls have all the luck." Tagged, Ryan Mitchell. Sugar daddy? Zara's voice could have cut glass. It gets worse. Nicole clicked on another post. Look at this one from your wedding anniversary. The photo was from an expensive steakhouse downtown. Brittany was wearing a dress that cost more than most people's monthly salary, holding up a glass of champagne that probably cost $50. The caption, "Celebrating 8 years of someone else's marriage while building our own future. Patience is a virtue, but diamonds are forever." The date stamp showed it was posted the same night Ryan told Zara he had to work late and couldn't make their anniversary dinner reservations. She knew, Zara whispered. She knew about me the whole time. More than that. Nicole pulled up another screenshot. She was planning to replace you. This post showed Brittany trying on wedding dresses at an upscale bridal boutique. The caption, "A girl can dream. Soon this won't be just for fun. Some things are worth waiting for." Posted 3 months ago. Zara felt something cold and sharp crystallize in her chest. This wasn't just an affair. This was a calculated plan to take over her entire life. While she was working 2 jobs to help Ryan build his consulting business, Brittany was planning her wedding with Zara's husband. "We need to move fast," Nicole said. If they're planning to get married, Ryan might try to hide assets or transfer money offshore. What can we do? Nicole's smile was predatory. First, we freeze everything. Joint bank accounts, credit cards, business accounts. I'll file an emergency motion first thing tomorrow morning. She pulled up their banking website on her laptop. What's your login information? Zara provided the details and they both stared at the screen in horror. Their joint checking account, which had contained $23,000 when Zara went into surgery, now held exactly $412. He drained the account. Nicole breathed. They checked their savings. $8,000, down from $45,000. Their investment account told the same story. Ryan had systematically emptied every account they shared, leaving just enough to avoid triggering automatic overdraft alerts. How much is missing total? Zara asked. Nicole calculated quickly. About $86,000. $86,000? Zara felt dizzy. That's everything we had. Plus the $35,000 from selling your jewelry. He's stolen over $120,000. Nicole's fingers flew across the keyboard, taking screenshots of everything. This is grand theft. We can press criminal charges. Will I get the money back? If he spent it, we'll garnish his wages for the rest of his natural life. If he hid it, we'll find it. If he gave it to her, we'll take everything she owns. Zara leaned back against her pillows, trying to process the scope of Ryan's betrayal. It wasn't just cheating. It was calculated financial abuse, theft, and fraud. He'd systematically stripped her of everything while she was unconscious and helpless. There's more, Nicole said grimly. I ran a credit check on both of you. She turned the laptop screen toward Zara. He's opened 7 new credit cards in the past 6 months. All maxed out. Total debt, $63,000. In my name. In both your names. As his wife, you're responsible for half. Zara felt the room spinning. Not only had Ryan stolen everything they owned, he'd also buried her in debt she knew nothing about. How is this legal? It's not. Forging your signature on credit applications is fraud. Using the cards without your knowledge is identity theft. Nicole continued scrolling. Look at the charges. Jewelry stores, upscale restaurants, luxury hotels, designer clothing stores. He's been funding an entire lifestyle with fraudulent credit cards. Can we prove I didn't know? Easily. You were in the hospital for major surgery. There's no way you could have been shopping at Neiman Marcus or dining at 5-star restaurants. Nicole closed the laptop and looked directly at Zara. I need you to understand something. This isn't just about divorce anymore. Your husband has committed multiple felonies. Identity theft, credit card fraud, grand theft, embezzlement if he used any business funds. We're talking about serious prison time. Good. The word came out colder than Zara expected, but she meant it. Ryan had stolen her family history, her financial security, and her future. He'd done it while she was fighting for her life, unable to defend herself. What's our next step? Tomorrow morning, I file for emergency divorce proceedings with a motion to freeze all assets. By noon, he won't be able to access a penny without court approval. What about criminal charges? I have a contact in the district attorney's office. With this much evidence, they'll be very interested in prosecuting. Nicole packed up her laptop. But first, we need to secure any evidence before he realizes we're onto him. What kind of evidence? Financial records, emails, text messages, anything that shows premeditation. If we can prove he planned this systematically, the criminal penalties get much more severe. How do we get that? Nicole smiled, and for the first time since this nightmare began, Zara felt like they had a real plan. Leave that to me. I know a private investigator who specializes in cheating spouses. By the time we're done, we'll know every dollar Ryan spent, every lie he told, and every plan he made. How long will this take? The investigation? 2 weeks. The divorce? 6 months if he cooperates, longer if he fights. The criminal case? That's up to the prosecutor, but with this much evidence, they'll move fast. Nicole stood to leave, then paused at the door. Zara, I need you to understand something. This is going to get ugly. Ryan will fight back. He'll try to make you look unstable, claim you're imagining things because of the pain medication, maybe even argue that you gave him permission to sell the jewelry. Let him try. He might threaten you. He might beg. He might promise to pay everything back if you don't press charges. I don't care. He destroyed your entire life while you were unconscious and helpless. Men like that don't suddenly develop consciences when they get caught. Zara met her friend's eyes. Nicole, I want you to destroy him. I want him to lose everything. I want Brittany to see exactly what kind of man she chose. I want everyone who knows us to understand what he really is. That's exactly what we're going to do. After Nicole left, Zara lay in the dark hospital room, listening to the sounds of the night shift changing. Nurses chatting quietly in the hallway. Machines beeping in other rooms. The ordinary sounds of a world continuing to turn while hers had completely stopped. But for the first time since she'd discovered those receipts, Zara felt something other than devastation. She felt purpose. Ryan thought he'd won by attacking her while she was down, stealing from her while she couldn't fight back. He had no idea that he'd just woken up the wrong woman. Her grandmother hadn't survived the depression by being a victim. Her mother hadn't built a successful career by accepting less than she deserved. And Zara wasn't going to let some cheating thief destroy everything 3 generations of strong women had built. Tomorrow the real fight would begin. Zara checked out of the hospital 2 days later with Nicole's help, carrying nothing but the clothes she'd worn to surgery and a burning determination to reclaim everything that had been stolen from her. The house felt different when she walked through the front door. Empty somehow, even though all the furniture was still there. Ryan's belongings were gone. His clothes, his computer, his golf clubs. He'd cleared out while she was still hospitalized, like a thief in the night. Which she supposed was exactly what he was. Smart move on his part, Nicole said, setting down Zara's discharge paperwork. Harder to claim abandonment if he took his stuff and left voluntarily. Did the emergency motions go through? Nicole smiled. Every single account is frozen as of 9 this morning. Ryan can't access a penny without court approval. Neither can Brittany if she tries to use any joint credit cards. They walked through the house together, documenting everything. Nicole took photos while Zara made lists of missing items. It was worse than she'd initially thought. The silver serving set from my wedding is gone, Zara said, opening the dining room cabinet. Your grandmother's china? Half of it's missing. Zara's voice was steady, but her hands shook as she counted plates. He kept just enough so it wouldn't be obvious at first glance. In the bedroom, more discoveries awaited. Her jewelry box was empty except for a few cheap pieces. Her designer purses were gone. Even her expensive perfume had been taken. He's been systematically looting the house for months, Nicole observed. This wasn't impulsive. This was planned. Zara's phone rang. Unknown number. Don't answer, Nicole warned. Let it go to voicemail. The caller left a message. It was Ryan. Zara, we need to talk. I know you're upset, but freezing the accounts hurts both of us. I can't even buy groceries. Call me back so we can work something out. Nicole snorted. He can't buy groceries, but he could afford a $63,000 shopping spree for his girlfriend. Should I call him back? Absolutely not. Any communication goes through me from now on. Nicole's phone buzzed with a text. She read it and grinned. My private investigator just sent preliminary findings. You're going to love this. She forwarded the message to Zara's phone. The first photo showed Ryan and Brittany at an expensive restaurant the night before, apparently celebrating something with champagne and lobster. He's crying poverty to you while taking her out for $200 dinners, Nicole said. The next photo showed them entering a luxury hotel downtown. He's staying at the Ritz-Carlton. $500 a night. Where's he getting the money? All the accounts are frozen. Nicole's smile turned predatory. That's the beautiful part. He's probably using cash he skimmed from the business accounts. Which means he's been embezzling from his own company. Can we prove that? My investigator is working on it. But think about this. Ryan's business is a consulting firm he started with 2 partners. If he's been stealing from the company to fund his affair, his partners are going to be very unhappy. Zara felt a spark of hope. What happens to embezzlers? They lose their business licenses. They get sued by their partners. They face criminal charges. And in a business built on trust and reputation, they become unemployable. Nicole's phone rang. It's my contact at the DA's office. She answered, walking into the kitchen for privacy. Zara could hear only fragments of the conversation, but Nicole's tone was increasingly excited. Incredible news, Nicole said when she returned. The district attorney wants to meet with you tomorrow. They're very interested in prosecuting. What does that mean? It means they think they can win. With this much evidence, they can charge Ryan with identity theft, credit card fraud, grand theft, and potentially embezzlement if we can prove he stole from his business. How long would he go to prison? 5 to 10 years depending on how much he stole total. Zara's phone rang again. This time the caller ID showed Ryan's mother. Answer it, Nicole advised. But put it on speaker and don't admit to anything. Hello, Mrs. Rodriguez. Zara, sweetheart, how are you feeling? Ryan told us about your surgery. I'm recovering, thank you. He also told us you two are having some problems. I wanted you to know that whatever's happening, we still think of you as our daughter. Zara felt a pang of genuine affection for the woman who'd welcomed her into the family 8 years ago. Thank you. That means a lot. He's staying with us right now and he's very upset. He says there's been some misunderstanding about money and jewelry. There's no misunderstanding. Pause. Zara, I know Ryan isn't perfect, but he loves you. Whatever he did wrong, I'm sure he didn't mean to hurt you. He sold my grandmother's jewelry to pay for another woman's birthday party while I was unconscious in surgery. Silence. That can't be true. I have the receipts. More silence. Mrs. Rodriguez, I love you and Mr. Rodriguez. You welcomed me into your family and I'll always be grateful. But your son stole over $100,000 from me while I was fighting for my life in the hospital. I can't forgive that. $100,000? He emptied all our accounts and maxed out credit cards in my name to fund his relationship with his girlfriend. She could hear Mrs. Rodriguez crying softly. I'm sorry, sweetheart. I had no idea. I know you didn't. Ryan lied to everyone. After she hung up, Zara felt drained. That was harder than I expected. His family needed to know the truth. They're probably funding his hotel stay right now. Nicole's phone buzzed again. She read the message and her eyes lit up. My investigator just hit the jackpot. He found Ryan's business bank statements. And? Ryan has been transferring money from the business account to a personal account for 8 months. 23 separate transfers totaling $41,000. That's embezzlement. That's embezzlement with a paper trail. His business partners are going to crucify him. Nicole made a call. James, it's Nicole. I need you to contact Rodriguez and Phillips immediately. Their partner Ryan Mitchell has been embezzling from the company. Yes, I have proof. I'll email you everything. She hung up and turned to Zara. Ryan's business partners will receive a full report within the hour. By tomorrow morning, he'll be out of the company and facing a civil lawsuit. What about Brittany? Does she face any consequences? If she knowingly received stolen property, yes. And based on her social media posts, she clearly knew the money came from you. Nicole packed up her laptop. Zara, in 48 hours, we've frozen his accounts, exposed his embezzlement, and started criminal proceedings. Ryan's entire world is about to collapse. Good. But I need you to understand something. He's going to fight back. When men like Ryan feel cornered, they get desperate. He might try to intimidate you or manipulate you into dropping the charges. Let him try. He might promise to pay everything back. Too late for that. He might threaten suicide or claim he's having a breakdown. Not my problem anymore. Nicole studied her friend's face. You've changed. Being betrayed by someone you trusted completely changes you. I mean, you've gotten stronger. When I first walked into that hospital room, you were devastated. Now you're calculating. Zara considered that. My grandmother used to say that some people mistake kindness for weakness. She said the key to survival was learning the difference between being kind and being a fool. And which one were you being? A fool. But I'm done with that now. That night, alone in the house she'd shared with Ryan for 5 years, Zara made herself dinner and sat at the kitchen table planning her future. Tomorrow she would meet with prosecutors. Next week she would file for divorce. Within a month, she would have reclaimed everything that had been stolen from her. But tonight, she would allow herself one last moment of grief for the marriage she'd thought she had, the man she'd thought she knew, and the life that had been built on lies. Tomorrow she would start building something real. The district attorney's office buzzed with the efficient energy of people who sent criminals to prison for a living. Prosecutor Janet Hayes was a woman in her 50s with silver hair and eyes that had seen every kind of human betrayal. She spread the evidence across her conference table like a general planning a siege. Mrs. Mitchell, in 23 years of prosecution, I've rarely seen such a clear-cut case of financial abuse, Janet said, reviewing the bank statements. Your husband didn't just cheat. He committed systematic theft with premeditation. Zara sat beside Nicole, watching the prosecutor build her case with professional precision. What charges are you considering? Identity theft in the first degree, credit card fraud, grand theft, and conspiracy to commit fraud if we can prove his girlfriend knew the source of the funds. Janet looked up from the documents. We're talking about 8 to 12 years in prison. What do you need from me? Your testimony, obviously, but also cooperation in building the strongest possible case. Your husband is going to hire expensive lawyers who'll try to paint this as a marital dispute rather than criminal behavior. Nicole leaned forward. What about the business embezzlement? That's a separate case, but it strengthens our position. Shows a pattern of theft and deception. Janet smiled grimly. His business partners filed a police report this morning. They want him prosecuted to the fullest extent. After the meeting, Zara felt a mixture of satisfaction and exhaustion. Justice was coming, but the process would be long and emotionally draining. How are you holding up? Nicole asked as they walked to the parking garage. Better than I expected. Angry but focused. Good. Because phase 2 starts now. Phase 2. Making sure Ryan has no allies left when this goes to trial. Nicole's plan was brilliant in its simplicity. Over the next week, they systematically contacted everyone in Ryan's professional and personal network, armed with evidence of his crimes. First stop, his business partners. James Phillips was a man in his 60s who'd built his consulting firm on a reputation for integrity. When Nicole showed him the bank statements proving Ryan's embezzlement, his face went white with rage. $41,000, he breathed. That son of a bitch stole $41,000 from us. It gets worse, Nicole said, showing him Ryan's credit card statements. He was entertaining clients at expensive restaurants and charging it to the company, but the clients were actually his girlfriend. We trusted him completely. Gave him access to everything. James's hands shook as he looked through the evidence. How long has this been going on? At least 8 months that we can prove. James stood up and paced behind his desk. Do you know what this could do to our reputation? Our clients trust us with their most sensitive financial information. Ryan exploited that trust, Zara said quietly. Just like he exploited mine. Mrs. Mitchell, I want you to know that Rodriguez and Phillips will cooperate fully with the criminal prosecution. We'll also be pursuing civil action to recover every penny he stole. What happens to his share of the business? He forfeited that the moment he started stealing from us. His partnership agreement includes a morality clause. Embezzlement voids his ownership stake completely. Nicole smiled. So he loses his income, his business ownership, and his professional reputation. He'll never work in consulting again. Not after this. Next, they visited Ryan's parents. Mrs. Rodriguez opened the door with red-rimmed eyes. She'd been crying. Zara, sweetheart, come in. The conversation was heartbreaking. Ryan's parents had always treated Zara like their own daughter. Learning the truth about their son's crimes devastated them. We raised him better than this, Mr. Rodriguez said, his voice heavy with shame. We taught him to respect women, to honor his commitments. You did, Zara assured him. This isn't your fault. We told him he couldn't stay here anymore, Mrs. Rodriguez said quietly. After we saw the evidence you provided, we couldn't have him in our house. Where is he staying now? Some hotel. We don't know which one. He called asking for money, but we refused. Mr. Rodriguez looked directly at Zara. We want you to press charges. What he did is unforgivable. We'll testify against him if needed, Mrs. Rodriguez added. Family is family, but wrong is wrong. Their support meant more to Zara than she'd expected. Ryan's own parents choosing justice over blind loyalty sent a powerful message. The final stop was Ryan's closest friend, Tom Bradley. They'd been college roommates and stayed close for 15 years. Tom's reaction was explosive. He did what? Tom's voice echoed through his living room. He sold your grandmother's jewelry while you were in surgery? Among other things, Nicole said, handing him a summary of the charges. Tom read in stunned silence. I can't believe this. This isn't the Ryan I know. It's exactly the Ryan you know, Zara said. You just never saw this side of him. But stealing from you while you were sick? That's sociopathic. The private investigator found text messages between Ryan and his girlfriend, Nicole added. They were joking about you being in the hospital. Called it perfect timing for cleaning out the house. Tom's face went dark. They were laughing about you being sick? Zara nodded. Brittany posted on social media about how convenient it was that I was out of the way. Show me. Nicole pulled up the screenshots. Tom read them with growing horror. Jesus Christ. She's evil. And Ryan. He shook his head. I thought I knew him. Will you testify about his character if needed? Absolutely. And I'm calling everyone we know to make sure they understand what kind of person he really is. By the end of the week, Ryan's entire support system had crumbled. His business partners wanted him prosecuted. His parents had disowned his behavior. His best friend was actively campaigning against him. Nicole's investigator provided regular updates on Ryan's deteriorating situation. He'd been evicted from the Ritz-Carlton for unpaid bills. Brittany had stopped answering his calls after learning about the criminal charges. He was staying at a cheap motel and eating fast food. He tried to access his retirement account yesterday, the investigator reported. But it's frozen pending the divorce proceedings. What about Brittany? She's distancing herself fast. Posted on Instagram about being deceived by a criminal and how she never knew about his wife. Nicole laughed. She's trying to rewrite history now that she knows she might face charges. Is she going to be prosecuted? The DA is still deciding. But her social media posts prove she knew the money came from you. Hard to claim innocence when you're bragging about spending a married woman's inheritance. Zara felt a deep satisfaction watching Ryan's world collapse piece by piece. He'd thought he was so clever, stealing from her while she was helpless. He'd never considered that she might fight back, might have allies of her own. What's next? Zara asked. Next, we wait for him to make a mistake. Desperate men do desperate things. Nicole's prediction proved accurate. That night, Zara's doorbell rang at 11 p.m. She looked through the peephole and saw Ryan standing on her porch, swaying slightly. He'd been drinking. She called Nicole immediately. Don't answer the door, Nicole instructed. But turn on your phone's video recording. If he says anything incriminating, we need it on tape. Zara crept to a window where she could hear Ryan clearly. Zara, I know you're in there, he shouted. We need to talk. She started recording. This is all a misunderstanding. His words were slurred. I was going to pay everything back. Go away, Ryan, she called through the door. You can't destroy my life like this. I made one mistake. One mistake. You stole over $100,000. It was for us. I was building something for our future. By buying another woman birthday presents? That meant nothing. You're my wife. Not anymore. Ryan kicked the front door. You can't do this to me. I won't let you destroy everything I've worked for. You destroyed it yourself when you decided to steal from me. I'll pay you back every penny. Just drop the charges. Too late for that. Ryan's voice turned threatening. You think you're so smart, but you have no idea what I'm capable of. Zara's blood chilled. Are you threatening me? A long pause. When Ryan spoke again, his voice was different. Colder. I'm just saying you should be careful. Accidents happen. That was enough. Zara called 911. I need police assistance. My estranged husband is drunk, violent, and threatening me. Within 10 minutes, 2 patrol cars arrived. Ryan was arrested for public intoxication and making terroristic threats. As they handcuffed him, he looked directly at Zara through her window. The expression on his face was pure hatred. Nicole arrived 20 minutes later. Are you okay? I'm fine. But I got everything on video. Perfect. Threatening a witness is a felony. His bail just got a lot higher. That night, Zara lay in bed thinking about the man she'd married 8 years ago. She tried to remember when he'd changed, when the kind, loving person she'd fallen for had become someone capable of theft and threats. But the more she thought about it, the more she realized the truth. Ryan hadn't changed. She'd just finally seen who he really was. And now everyone else could see it too. The private investigator's office looked like something from a detective movie. File cabinets lined the walls, and bulletin boards covered with photos and timelines mapped out the intricate details of Ryan's double life. Marcus Stone was a former police detective who specialized in financial crimes, and he'd been building a case against Ryan that would have impressed the FBI. In 30 years of investigation, I've never seen someone document their own crimes so thoroughly, Marcus said, spreading photos across his desk. Your husband kept receipts for everything. Zara leaned forward to examine the evidence. The photos showed Ryan and Brittany at expensive restaurants, luxury hotels, jewelry stores, and boutiques. But it wasn't just the spending that caught her attention, it was the timing. This dinner was the night after my surgery, she said, pointing to a receipt timestamp. And this shopping trip was while you were still in the ICU, Marcus added, showing her credit card records. He spent $3,000 on designer clothes for her while you were fighting for your life. Nicole reviewed the financial timeline Marcus had created. He systematically emptied your accounts over 6 months, but accelerated the theft dramatically once you were hospitalized. Why then? Because he knew you couldn't monitor the accounts or stop him, Marcus explained. Classic predatory behavior. He waited until you were most vulnerable. The evidence was overwhelming. Bank records showing unauthorized transfers. Credit card statements with charges Zara had never made. Store security footage of Ryan making expensive purchases with Brittany. Social media posts where she bragged about the gifts. The jewelry sale is what seals the case, Marcus continued. He forged your signature on the ownership documents. How can you prove that? Handwriting analysis for one. But more importantly, you were unconscious under anesthesia when the papers were supposedly signed. Marcus pulled out a thick folder. Medical records confirm you were in surgery for 4 hours, then sedated in recovery for another 6. The jewelry sale documents are time-stamped during your surgery. So he literally couldn't have gotten my permission. Impossible. Which makes it forgery and theft, not a marital property dispute. Nicole smiled grimly. His lawyers are going to have a hard time explaining that away. Marcus wasn't finished. I also traced where all the money went. Every penny. He showed them a detailed breakdown. $63,000 in fraudulent credit card charges. $86,000 stolen from your joint accounts. $41,000 embezzled from his business. $35,000 from selling your jewelry. That's over $200,000, Zara breathed. $225,000 to be exact. All spent on Brittany or joint expenses for their relationship. Can we prove she knew it was stolen? Marcus pulled out his phone and showed them a screenshot. This text message from Brittany to her friend says, Ryan is cleaning out his wife's accounts while she's sick. Finally getting what I deserve. How did you get her text messages? Her friend got disgusted with the whole situation and volunteered them to the police. Apparently, Brittany was bragging about the theft to multiple people. Nicole's eyes lit up. That's conspiracy to commit theft. She's not just a recipient of stolen property, she's an active participant. Marcus nodded. The DA is considering charging her as a co-conspirator. What about Ryan's business crimes? His partners provided complete access to their financial records. Ryan created fake client accounts to justify the transfers, then moved the money to personal accounts. Classic embezzlement with a paper trail a mile long. Marcus pulled out another folder. But here's the most damaging evidence. Inside were printed emails between Ryan and Brittany dating back over a year. Zara's hands shook as she read them. From Ryan, Zara suspects nothing. She's so focused on her job she doesn't notice the missing money. From Brittany, when are you going to divorce her? I'm tired of being your secret. From Ryan, soon. I need to move more assets first. She has too much in her name. From Brittany, her grandmother's jewelry would pay for our wedding. Think she'd notice if some pieces went missing? From Ryan, not if I'm careful about which ones I take. The emails painted a picture of calculated, predatory planning. They'd been discussing stealing from Zara for months, waiting for the right opportunity. This email is from 2 weeks before your surgery, Marcus pointed out. They were planning to steal your jewelry before you even got sick. The surgery just made it easier, Nicole added. Perfect opportunity to clean you out while you couldn't fight back. Marcus showed them more emails. Plans to hide assets in offshore accounts. Discussions about which of Zara's possessions were most valuable. Jokes about her being too trusting to notice the theft. They were laughing at me, Zara said quietly. Worse than that. They were planning to destroy your entire financial life and thought it was funny. The final piece of evidence was a recording Marcus had obtained through legal surveillance. Ryan and Brittany discussing their future plans after the theft was complete. Play it, Nicole said. Ryan's voice filled the room. Once I get the rest of her inheritance money, we can buy that house in Costa Rica. She'll never find us there. Brittany's laugh was like ice. Will she even have enough left to survive? Not my problem anymore. She should have paid more attention to her husband. Zara felt something cold settle in her chest. They hadn't just stolen her money, they'd planned to leave the country and abandon her to financial ruin. When was this recorded? 3 days after your surgery. While you were still in the hospital. The cruelty was breathtaking. While Zara was recovering from major surgery, her husband and his girlfriend were planning to steal everything she owned and flee the country. Marcus closed the folders. Mrs. Mitchell, I've been investigating financial crimes for 30 years. This is one of the most clear-cut cases of premeditated theft I've ever seen. What happens next? The DA presents this evidence to the grand jury next week. With this much documentation, indictments are guaranteed. Both of them? Both of them. Ryan for identity theft, credit card fraud, embezzlement and grand theft. Brittany for conspiracy and receiving stolen property. Nicole gathered the files. Their lawyers are going to recommend plea deals. The evidence is too overwhelming for trial. What kind of plea deals? Ryan's looking at 8 to 12 years even with a plea. Brittany might get 3 to 5 if she cooperates. Zara tried to process the magnitude of what they'd discovered. It wasn't just betrayal, it was systematic, calculated destruction planned over months while she trusted them completely. Marcus, can I ask you something? Of course. In your experience, do people like this ever really change? Or would they have kept escalating? Marcus considered the question carefully. Mrs. Mitchell, people who can plan this level of deception while laughing about their victims' suffering, they don't develop consciences. If you hadn't caught them, they would have taken everything and disappeared, leaving me with nothing. Less than nothing. Between the debt and the cleaned-out accounts, you would have been financially destroyed. As they left Marcus's office, Zara felt a strange sense of completion. Every question had been answered. Every suspicion had been confirmed. Every betrayal had been documented with irrefutable proof. Ryan and Brittany had thought they were so clever, planning their perfect crime while she was helpless in a hospital bed. They'd underestimated two things: Zara's determination to fight back, and their own arrogance in documenting everything. How do you feel? Nicole asked as they walked to the car. Like I finally understand who I was married to. Any regrets about pressing charges? Zara thought about the emails where they'd laughed about her trust. The recording where they'd planned to leave her financially ruined. The jewelry sale that had stolen her family history while she was unconscious. None whatsoever. Good. Because tomorrow we spring the trap. What trap? Nicole smiled. Ryan doesn't know we have the emails and recordings yet. His lawyer is going to contact us about a plea deal, thinking they can negotiate from a position of strength. And we're going to let them show their hand first. Then we'll reveal just how much evidence we actually have. What do you think they'll offer? Probably restitution and probation. Maybe anger management classes. Zara laughed, but there was no humor in it. After stealing over $200,000 and planning to flee the country? Men like Ryan always think they can charm their way out of consequences. Right up until the moment the cell door closes. That night, Zara sat in her grandmother's favorite chair, the one piece of furniture Ryan hadn't been able to steal because it was too big and obvious. She thought about the strong women who'd come before her, who'd survived much worse than a cheating husband. Her grandmother had survived the depression by being smarter and tougher than the people who tried to break her. Her mother had built a successful career in a time when few women could. And now it was Zara's turn to prove that the women in her family didn't stay victims. Tomorrow, Ryan would learn that stealing from the wrong woman came with a price higher than he ever imagined. Ryan's lawyer was exactly what Zara expected. Expensive suit, practiced smile, and the kind of confidence that came from defending wealthy criminals. Michael Torres had a reputation for getting reduced sentences for white-collar crimes, and his retainer probably cost more than most people's annual salary. Mrs. Mitchell, I understand you're upset about the breakdown of your marriage, Torres began, settling into his chair across from Nicole's conference table. Divorce is emotional, and sometimes people make accusations they later regret. Nicole's expression didn't change. What are you proposing? My client is willing to enter marriage counseling and make full restitution for any property disputes that may have occurred during this difficult time. Property disputes? Zara couldn't keep the ice out of her voice. Misunderstandings about jointly owned assets. Common in failing marriages. Torres pulled out a folder. Mr. Mitchell is prepared to return $50,000 immediately and pay the remainder over 24 months, plus interest. How generous, Nicole said dryly. And in return? Mrs. Mitchell drops all criminal complaints and agrees to an amicable divorce. What about the embezzlement from his business? A simple bookkeeping error. He's prepared to make full restitution to his partners as well. Nicole leaned back in her chair. Mr. Torres, do you have any idea what evidence we've collected against your client? Some financial records, I assume. Nothing that can't be explained as marital property disputes. You assume wrong. Nicole opened her laptop and turned it toward Torres. Let's start with this. The screen showed Ryan's forged signature on the jewelry sale documents, time-stamped during Zara's surgery. Torres looked confused. I don't understand the significance. Your client forged his wife's signature while she was unconscious under anesthesia. That's not a property dispute, that's forgery and theft. Nicole clicked to the next screen. These are the credit card applications your client filed in Mrs. Mitchell's name without her knowledge or consent. Identity theft. Torres was no longer smiling. There may be some documentation issues, but this is your client systematically emptying every account they shared while his wife was hospitalized. Grand theft. Nicole kept clicking through screens. Bank records, credit card statements, business account transfers. Each piece of evidence more damning than the last. But wait, there's more, Nicole said cheerfully. These are emails between your client and his girlfriend, planning to steal Mrs. Mitchell's inheritance and flee the country. Torres read the emails in growing horror. Where did you get these? Legal discovery. Amazing what people put in writing when they think they're clever. Nicole played the audio recording next. Ryan and Brittany's voices filled the room, discussing their plans to abandon Zara to financial ruin. And here's my personal favorite, Nicole continued. Text messages where they laugh about the timing of Mrs. Mitchell's surgery being perfect for cleaning out her accounts. Torres had gone pale. I need to confer with my client. Not yet. We're not finished. Nicole pulled up the business records. $41,000 embezzled from his company over 8 months. Fake client accounts, forged authorizations, fraudulent transfers. And finally, Nicole said, a recording of your client threatening Mrs. Mitchell outside her home 3 nights ago. She played Ryan's drunken threats, his voice clearly audible promising that accidents happen. The conference room fell silent. Torres stared at his legal pad, no longer taking notes. This is extensive. $225,000 stolen. Multiple felonies. Conspiracy charges for his girlfriend. And now witness intimidation. Nicole closed the laptop. So tell me again about your $50,000 restitution offer. I need to speak with my client immediately. By all means. But first, let me explain something. Nicole's voice turned deadly serious. Your client thought he was stealing from a helpless victim. He planned this while she was fighting for her life in surgery. He laughed about destroying her financially. He threatened her when she fought back. I understand you're upset. I'm not upset, Mr. Torres. I'm building a case that will put your client in prison for the next decade. Nicole stood up. The district attorney is presenting this evidence to the grand jury tomorrow. Your client has until noon to decide if he wants to cooperate or fight. What kind of cooperation? Full confession. Complete restitution. Testimony against his co-conspirator. Allocation of all assets to satisfy the debt. And in return? We recommend 8 years instead of 15. Torres gathered his papers with shaking hands. I'll speak with him immediately. After he left, Zara turned to Nicole. Think he'll take the deal? His lawyer just realized he's been lied to. Torres thought this was a simple divorce case, not a federal crime spree. Nicole's phone buzzed. Text from the DA. The grand jury convenes at 9 a.m. tomorrow. How long for indictments? With this evidence? Maybe an hour. Nicole packed up her laptop. Zara, I need you to understand something. After tomorrow, this becomes public. The arrests will be in the news. Everyone will know what Ryan did to you. Good. Let everyone see what kind of man he really is. Are you prepared for that level of scrutiny? Zara thought about the emails where they'd called her too trusting. The recordings where they'd laughed about her being in surgery. The plans to leave her financially destroyed. I want the whole world to know. I want every woman to see what financial abuse looks like. I want every man to understand that stealing from your sick wife comes with consequences. Nicole smiled. Then tomorrow we make sure justice is served. That evening, Zara received an unexpected call from Mrs. Rodriguez. Zara, sweetheart, I wanted you to know that Ryan came to see us tonight. How is he? Desperate. Scared. He wanted us to post bail when he gets arrested tomorrow. Are you going to? A long pause. No. After seeing all the evidence his lawyer showed us, we can't support what he did. I'm sorry this is happening to your family. You're our family too. What he did to you, there's no excuse for that level of cruelty. Mrs. Rodriguez's voice cracked. He asked us to call you. To beg you to drop the charges. What did you tell him? That he made his choices and now he has to face the consequences. After hanging up, Zara felt a profound sadness for the people who'd loved Ryan despite what he'd become. His parents, his friends, even Zara herself had genuinely cared about him. But caring about someone didn't mean accepting abuse. It didn't mean enabling theft. It didn't mean allowing them to destroy other people without consequences. Her phone rang again. Unknown number. Hello? Zara, it's me. Ryan's voice. Calling from jail. Don't hang up. Please. You have 30 seconds. I know you're angry, but this has gone too far. I made mistakes, but you don't need to destroy my entire life. You destroyed your own life when you stole from me. I was going to pay it back. With what money? You embezzled from your business and maxed out fraudulent credit cards. We can work this out. I'll get a second mortgage on the house. What house? The one you put in both our names that's now part of the divorce settlement. Silence. Ryan, you had a choice. You could have talked to me about financial problems. You could have asked for help. You could have been honest. I know, but instead you chose to steal from me while I was unconscious. You chose to plan my financial destruction. You chose to laugh about it with your girlfriend. How did you? He stopped himself. How did I find out? Because you documented everything. Every email, every text, every plan to leave me with nothing. Zara, please. I'm begging you. Did you think about begging when you sold my grandmother's jewelry? Did you think about mercy when you emptied our accounts while I was in surgery? I made a mistake. You made a choice. Every day for a year, you chose to betray me. What do you want? I'll do anything. I want you to face the consequences of what you've done. I want other women to see that financial abuse is a crime. I want you to understand that stealing from your sick wife doesn't make you clever, it makes you a criminal. You're destroying everything I worked for. No, Ryan. You destroyed everything the moment you decided I was just something to be robbed. She hung up and blocked the number. Tomorrow the grand jury would meet. Tomorrow the indictments would be issued. Tomorrow Ryan and Brittany would be arrested and charged with multiple felonies. But tonight, Zara felt something she hadn't experienced in months: peace. The woman who'd been victimized while unconscious in a hospital bed was gone. In her place was someone stronger, someone who refused to be anyone's victim ever again. Her grandmother would have been proud. The grand jury took exactly 47 minutes to return indictments against both Ryan and Brittany. By noon, arrest warrants had been issued. By 2 p.m., both were in custody. Zara watched the news coverage from Nicole's office, feeling surreal as reporters described a shocking case of spousal theft and financial abuse. The story had everything journalists loved: betrayal, theft, and a victim who fought back. Channel 7 is calling it the hospital heist, Nicole said, scrolling through news websites. Channel 12 went with betrayal in the ICU. I can't believe this is my life. Better than the alternative. If you hadn't fought back, you'd be financially destroyed and they'd be living in Costa Rica. Zara's phone had been ringing constantly. Reporters wanting interviews. Friends expressing shock and support. Family members who hadn't spoken to her in years suddenly calling to offer help. But the call she'd been waiting for came at 3 p.m. Mrs. Mitchell? This is Detective Sarah Kim with the Financial Crimes Unit. We've arrested both suspects. Mr. Mitchell is being held on $500,000 bail. Ms. Chin on $200,000. Will they make bail? Unlikely. Mr. Mitchell's assets are frozen, and his family refuses to post bond. Ms. Chin's parents are flying in from Seattle, but they're not wealthy people. When's the arraignment? Tomorrow morning. The DA wants to move fast before the media attention affects potential jurors. After Detective Kim hung up, Nicole poured 2 glasses of champagne. To justice served. It's not over yet. The hard part is, with this much evidence, they'll both plead guilty rather than face trial. Nicole's phone buzzed. Torres wants to meet. Ryan's ready to negotiate. What's he offering now? Full confession, complete restitution, and cooperation against Brittany. In exchange for 8 years instead of 15. Zara considered it. What do you think? I think 8 years is enough time for him to understand that stealing from sick wives carries consequences. And Brittany? If Ryan testifies against her, she's looking at 5 years minimum. That evening, Zara agreed to meet with Torres and Ryan at the courthouse. She wanted to look him in the eye when he confessed to what he'd done. Ryan looked terrible. 3 days in jail had stripped away his polished facade. His expensive suit was wrinkled, his hair unkempt, his face gray with stress. Zara, he said when she walked into the conference room. Thank you for coming. She didn't respond, just sat across from him with Nicole beside her. Torres opened a folder. My client is prepared to make a full confession and allocution of facts. Let's hear it, Nicole said. Ryan cleared his throat. I systematically stole money from our joint accounts while Zara was hospitalized. I forged her signature to sell her grandmother's jewelry. I embezzled money from my business to fund my relationship with Brittany Chen. Total amount stolen? $225,000. Over what time period? 8 months, but most of it during the 2 weeks Zara was in the hospital. Nicole made notes. What about the identity theft? I opened credit cards in both our names without her knowledge or consent. I used them to buy gifts for Brittany and fund our relationship. What about the plans to flee the country? Ryan's voice dropped. We discussed moving to Costa Rica to avoid prosecution once the theft was discovered. Did you believe your wife would discover the theft? Eventually, yes. And you planned to be gone by then? Yes. Nicole looked up from her notes. Mr. Mitchell, in your own words, please explain what you intended to happen to your wife financially. Ryan stared at the table. We knew she'd be left with nothing. The debt from the credit cards, the empty accounts, the stolen property. She would have been financially ruined. And how did you feel about that prospect? A long pause. At the time, I didn't care. The honesty was brutal. Zara had expected some attempt at justification, some claim that he'd convinced himself it was justified. Instead, he admitted he'd simply stopped caring about destroying her life. What changed? Nicole asked. Seeing the consequences. Understanding what I actually did. You mean getting caught? Yes. Nicole closed her folder. Mrs. Mitchell, do you have any questions for your husband? Zara looked at the man she'd been married to for 8 years. The man she trusted completely. The man who'd planned to leave her financially destroyed while she was fighting for her life. Just one question. Ryan looked up hopefully. If I hadn't caught you, if the surgery had gone badly and I'd died, would you have felt guilty about stealing from me? The question hung in the air like a physical presence. Ryan's lawyer whispered something in his ear, but Ryan shook his head. No, he said quietly. I probably would have felt relieved. The brutality of that honesty hit Zara like a physical blow. Not guilty. Relieved. Her death would have solved his problems. Thank you for being honest, she said. That's all I need to know. Nicole stood up. The plea agreement is acceptable. 8 years in state prison, full restitution, and complete cooperation against Miss Chin. What about Brittany? Zara asked. Torres consulted his notes. If she pleads guilty and makes restitution for the items she received, the DA will recommend 3 years. And if she fights it? With Mr. Mitchell's testimony and the evidence you've collected? 7 to 10 years. The arraignment the next morning was a media circus. News vans lined the courthouse steps, and reporters shouted questions as Zara walked past with Nicole. Inside the courtroom, Ryan and Brittany sat at separate defense tables, no longer the happy couple from the social media posts. They didn't look at each other or at Zara. Judge Margaret Chin, no relation to Brittany despite the shared name, reviewed the charges with mechanical precision. Identity theft, credit card fraud, grand theft, embezzlement, conspiracy. Mr. Mitchell, how do you plead to the charges of identity theft in the first degree, credit card fraud, grand theft, and embezzlement? Ryan stood slowly. Guilty, Your Honor. Miss Chin, how do you plead to the charges of conspiracy to commit theft and receiving stolen property? Brittany's voice was barely audible. Guilty, Your Honor. Judge Chin set sentencing for 6 weeks later and remanded both defendants to custody pending completion of their cooperation agreements. As they were led away in handcuffs, Ryan looked back at Zara one last time. She met his eyes without flinching, feeling nothing but relief that this chapter of her life was finally closing. Outside the courthouse, reporters surrounded them. Mrs. Mitchell, how does it feel to see your husband arrested? Like justice is being served. What would you say to other women who might be experiencing financial abuse? Zara paused, thinking of all the women who might be trusting partners who were secretly destroying their lives. Document everything. Watch your accounts. Trust your instincts. And remember that love doesn't excuse theft. Any regrets about pressing charges? None whatsoever. That night, the story led the evening news on every local channel. The footage of Ryan and Brittany in handcuffs played on repeat, along with details of their elaborate scheme. Social media exploded with reactions. Most people expressed outrage at Ryan's betrayal and support for Zara's decision to fight back. But some criticized her for destroying her husband's life over money. Those comments stung, but Nicole had prepared her for them. People who've never been victimized don't understand, Nicole explained. They see the financial loss but miss the deeper betrayal. They think marriage means accepting any abuse. How do I respond to that? You don't. Your job isn't to educate people who choose to blame victims. Your job is to rebuild your life. 3 days after the arraignment, Zara received an unexpected visitor. Brittany's mother, Linda Chin, appeared at her front door looking exhausted and heartbroken. Mrs. Mitchell, I know you have no reason to speak with me, but I wanted to apologize for what my daughter did to you. Zara studied the older woman's face. Would you like to come in? Linda followed her into the living room, clutching a tissue box. I raised Brittany to respect other people, to work for what she wanted. I don't understand how she became someone who could steal from a sick woman, People make choices, Zara said carefully. She's my only child. I know what she did was wrong, but seeing her in jail? Linda started crying. I understand you love your daughter. But she wasn't an innocent victim in this. She actively participated in planning to destroy my life. I know. I've seen the evidence. The text messages where she bragged about it. Linda wiped her eyes. I wanted to ask if there's anything she could do to reduce her sentence. Like what? Full restitution? Community service? She could speak to other young women about making better choices. Zara considered the request. Mrs. Chin, your daughter spent over a year helping my husband steal from me. She knew I was in the hospital fighting for my life and she thought it was funny. She planned to help him leave me financially destroyed. I know. So what exactly should I forgive? The theft? The cruelty? The plan to ruin me? Linda was quiet for a long moment. I suppose I was hoping you might show mercy. Did your daughter show mercy when she was spending my grandmother's jewelry money? Did she show mercy when she was planning my financial destruction? No. Then why should I show her what she refused to give me? Linda nodded slowly. You're right. I'm sorry for asking. Mrs. Chen, I don't hate your daughter. But I won't minimize what she did to spare her consequences. After Linda left, Zara felt a strange mix of sadness and determination. She understood a mother's love for her child, but she also understood that some actions couldn't be excused or minimized. Brittany had made her choices with full knowledge of the consequences. Now she would live with them. 6 weeks later, the courthouse was packed for sentencing. Zara sat in the front row with Nicole, surrounded by friends and family who'd supported her through the ordeal. Behind them, reporters filled every available seat. Ryan entered first, wearing an orange jumpsuit and shackles. He'd lost weight in jail, and his confident demeanor had been replaced by the hollow look of someone who'd lost everything. Brittany followed, equally diminished. The glamorous woman from the social media post was gone, replaced by someone who looked younger and more frightened than her 24 years. Judge Chin reviewed the case files with methodical precision. Mr. Mitchell, you have pled guilty to stealing over $200,000 from your wife while she was hospitalized for emergency surgery. This represents one of the most callous examples of domestic financial abuse this court has seen. Ryan stood to face sentencing. The court recognizes your cooperation with prosecutors and your agreement to make full restitution. However, the premeditated nature of your crimes, the vulnerability of your victim, and the extended period of deception demand significant punishment. Judge Chin looked directly at Ryan. You were in a position of ultimate trust. Your wife was fighting for her life and instead of supporting her, you saw her vulnerability as an opportunity for theft. This court cannot ignore such calculated cruelty. Mr. Mitchell, you are sentenced to 8 years in state prison, followed by 5 years of supervised probation. You will pay full restitution of $225,000 plus interest. All of your assets, including your share of the marital home and your retirement accounts, will be liquidated to satisfy this debt. Ryan's shoulders sagged. 8 years of his life, gone. Ms. Chin, you have pled guilty to conspiracy to commit theft and receiving stolen property. While you were not the primary perpetrator, you were an active participant who encouraged and benefited from the theft. Brittany's lawyer had argued for probation, claiming she was manipulated by an older, married man. But the evidence of her enthusiastic participation had undermined that defense. The court has reviewed your text messages celebrating the theft and your social media posts mocking the victim's hospitalization. Your behavior demonstrates not naivety, but callous disregard for another person's suffering. Ms. Chin, you are sentenced to 3 years in state prison, followed by 3 years of supervised probation. You will pay restitution of $48,000, representing the value of stolen property you personally received. Both defendants would begin serving their sentences immediately. After the sentencing, Zara stood to address the court. Judge Chin had allowed her to make a victim impact statement. Your Honor, when I married Ryan Mitchell 8 years ago, I trusted him completely. I believed we were building a life together based on love and mutual respect. Her voice was steady, clear. While I was unconscious in surgery fighting for my life, he stole everything I owned. He sold jewelry that had been in my family for 3 generations. He emptied accounts we'd built together over 8 years of marriage. But the financial theft wasn't the worst part. The worst part was learning that he and his girlfriend found my suffering entertaining. They joked about my hospitalization being perfect timing for their theft. They planned to leave me financially destroyed and thought it was funny. Zara looked directly at Ryan. For 8 years I shared my life with someone I thought I knew. I worked extra jobs to help build his business. I supported his dreams and trusted him with everything I had. What I learned is that he saw me not as a partner, but as a resource to be exploited. When I became inconvenient, he decided to steal everything and abandon me. She turned to address the courtroom. Financial abuse is real. It's a crime that destroys lives and breaks families. What happened to me could happen to anyone who trusts the wrong person. But I also want other victims to know that you don't have to accept it. You can fight back. You can demand justice. You can rebuild. Zara's voice grew stronger. These defendants thought they were stealing from a helpless victim. They learned they were wrong. The courtroom was silent when she finished. Outside, reporters surrounded her again. How does it feel to see your husband sentenced to 8 years in prison? Like justice has been served. Do you have any message for other victims of financial abuse? Document everything. Get legal help. Don't let anyone convince you that abuse is acceptable because you're married to them. What's next for you? Zara smiled for the first time in months. I'm starting over. Building something new and better. That evening, Nicole helped Zara celebrate with dinner at an expensive restaurant, the kind of place Ryan had taken Brittany with stolen money. How does it feel to be vindicated? Nicole asked over champagne. Exhausting. Satisfying. Strange. Any regrets? About pressing charges? None. About trusting him in the first place? Sometimes. You can't blame yourself for his choices. I know. But I keep wondering if I ignored warning signs because I wanted to believe in our marriage. Nicole considered that. Maybe. But that doesn't make his crimes your fault. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the city lights through the restaurant windows. What are you going to do with the restitution money? Nicole asked. Start a nonprofit. Help other victims of financial abuse navigate the legal system. Seriously? Completely seriously. I want other women to know they have options when someone tries to steal their life. Nicole raised her glass. To new beginnings. To fighting back. 3 months later, Zara received a letter forwarded from Ryan's prison. She almost threw it away without reading it, but curiosity won. Zara, I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I wanted you to know that I understand what I did now. Not just the stealing but the cruelty. I've had a lot of time to think about the person I became. About how I convinced myself you deserved what I was doing because it was convenient for me. I know sorry doesn't fix anything. I know it doesn't give you back your grandmother's jewelry or the years of trust one destroyed. But I am sorry. Not because I got caught, but because I became someone capable of hurting you like that. I hope you're building something better. You deserve everything good. Ryan. Zara read the letter twice, then filed it away. She believed he was sorry. Prison had a way of clarifying people's perspectives on their choices. But sorry didn't undo the damage. Sorry didn't restore her family heirlooms. Sorry didn't erase the months of rebuilding her life from nothing. Sorry was just another word unless it was backed by real change, and Ryan's chance to prove he'd changed wouldn't come for 8 years. By then, Zara would be living a completely different life. A life built on her own terms, protected by her own strength, and funded by money she'd earned herself. She had no intention of looking back. 2 years after Ryan's sentencing, Zara stood in the bright, airy offices of the Survivors Financial Recovery Foundation, the nonprofit she'd built from the ashes of her destroyed marriage. Sunlight streamed through floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating the motivational posters and success stories that covered the walls. Mrs. Patterson will be here in 10 minutes, her assistant called from the reception area. She's bringing all her financial documents like you requested. Zara smiled, reviewing the case file. Another woman whose husband had emptied their accounts while she was recovering from cancer treatment. Another story of betrayal and theft disguised as marriage. But also another opportunity to fight back. The foundation had helped 47 women in 2 years, providing legal assistance, financial counseling, and emotional support to victims of domestic financial abuse. They'd secured over $2 million in restitution and sent 12 abusers to prison. Each case reminded Zara why this work mattered. Her phone buzzed with a text from Nicole. Saw the news story about your foundation. Proud of you. The local newspaper had featured the foundation in their Sunday edition, highlighting how Zara had transformed her own victimization into a mission to help others. The article had generated dozens of calls from women who'd finally found the courage to seek help. Zara? Her assistant's voice interrupted her thoughts. Mrs. Patterson is here. Susan Patterson was a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and trembling hands. She clutched a folder of bank statements like a lifeline. Thank you for seeing me, Susan said as they settled into Zara's office. I didn't know where else to turn. Tell me what happened. My husband Gary and I were married for 23 years. Last year I was diagnosed with breast cancer. During my chemotherapy I was too sick to pay attention to our finances. Zara nodded, already seeing the pattern. When I got better, I discovered he'd taken out a second mortgage on our house, emptied our retirement accounts and maxed out every credit card we had. How much total? $300,000. Susan's voice cracked. 23 years of savings gone. Where did the money go? His girlfriend. A woman he met online. He was sending her thousands of dollars every month, plus he bought her a car and paid for her apartment. The story was heartbreakingly familiar. Another sick wife, another cheating husband, another calculated theft disguised as love. Have you filed a police report? The police said it was a civil matter because we're married. They wouldn't even take a report. Zara felt the familiar surge of anger that powered her work. Susan, what your husband did wasn't a civil matter. It was theft, fraud, and elder abuse. Elder abuse? You're over 50 and he exploited your illness to steal from you. That's a felony in this state. Susan's eyes filled with tears. Can you help me? We can and we will. Over the next hour, Zara walked Susan through the same process she'd learned 2 years ago. Document everything. Freeze all accounts. File criminal charges. Demand restitution. It's going to be hard, Zara warned. He'll probably claim you gave him permission. He'll try to make you feel guilty for pursuing charges. I don't care. I'm tired of being a victim. As Susan left with a detailed action plan and contact information for the foundation's partner attorneys, Zara felt the deep satisfaction that came from turning pain into purpose. Her phone rang. The caller ID showed her grandmother's old number, which now belonged to her cousin Rita. Zara, I wanted you to know that someone contacted me about Grandma's jewelry. Zara's heart jumped. What do you mean? A collector in New York called. He has 3 antique jewelry boxes that match the description you gave me. He wants to return them to the family. Are you serious? Completely serious. Apparently he researched the pieces after he bought them and discovered they were stolen. He's been looking for you for months. Zara felt tears streaming down her face. When can I see them? He's flying here next week. He won't accept any money, says returning stolen property is just basic decency. After hanging up, Zara sat in her office crying. Not from sadness, but from the overwhelming relief of having her family history restored. Her grandmother's earrings, her mother's music box, her own wedding jewelry. All of it coming home. Her assistant knocked on the door. Zara? Are you okay? I'm perfect. Someone found my grandmother's jewelry. The pieces Ryan sold. That's incredible. How? Apparently there are still good people in the world. That evening, Zara met her friend James for dinner. He was a financial advisor she'd met through the foundation, and over the past 6 months, their professional relationship had evolved into something personal. You look happy, he said as they settled into their booth at a quiet restaurant downtown. I got my grandmother's jewelry back. And we helped another woman start fighting for her rights. Good day then. The best in a long time. James understood her work in a way that felt rare. He'd grown up watching his mother struggle financially after his father abandoned the family, so he understood both the importance of financial security and the devastation that came from betrayal. How's the foundation expansion going? We're opening a second office next month. 3 more attorneys, 2 financial counselors, and a full-time investigator. From 47 women to how many? We're hoping to help over 100 next year. They talked about the foundation's growth, the new cases coming in, and the satisfaction of watching women reclaim their lives. James listened with the kind of attention that felt like respect rather than mere politeness. Can I ask you something personal? He said as they shared dessert. Of course. Do you ever wonder what your life would have been like if Ryan hadn't stolen from you? Zara considered the question. Sometimes. But honestly, I think I'm better off now. How so? The woman I was before was naive. Trusting to the point of stupidity. I ignored warning signs because I wanted to believe in something that wasn't real. And now I know what I'm capable of. I know I can survive anything. I built something meaningful from the worst experience of my life. James smiled. I think you're remarkable. Why? Most people would have let what happened to you make them bitter or afraid. You turned it into something that helps other people. That night, as Zara lay in bed in the house she now owned completely, Ryan's share had been liquidated to pay restitution, she reflected on the strange journey that had brought her here. 2 years ago, she'd awakened in a hospital bed to discover her entire life had been stolen. Her marriage was a lie, her finances were destroyed, and her family heirlooms were gone. Today, she ran a successful nonprofit that had helped dozens of women escape financial abuse. She owned her home free and clear. She had meaningful work that gave her purpose. And maybe, just maybe, she was ready to trust someone new. Her phone buzzed with a text from Nicole. "Coffee tomorrow? I have news about Ryan." Zara almost ignored it. Ryan's life in prison wasn't her concern anymore. But curiosity won. What kind of news? He's getting divorced. Brittany filed papers last month. Zara couldn't help but laugh. Even from prison, Ryan's life continued to fall apart. Brittany had apparently decided that waiting 3 years for a convicted felon wasn't the glamorous future she'd imagined. Good for her, Zara texted back. Maybe she'll learn to build her own life instead of stealing someone else's. Think you'll ever forgive him? Zara considered that question as she got ready for bed. Forgiveness wasn't about excusing what Ryan had done or pretending it hadn't mattered. It was about releasing the anger that could poison her own future. I already have. Not for his sake but for mine. Holding on to anger would have destroyed me worse than he ever could. That's very zen of you. That's very practical of me. I refuse to let what he did continue damaging my life. The next morning, Zara arrived at the foundation office to find a young woman waiting in the lobby. She looked nervous but determined, clutching a folder of documents. "Are you Zara Mitchell?" the woman asked. "I am. I read about your foundation in the newspaper. I think my boyfriend is stealing from me, but I'm not sure what to do." Zara sat beside her in the lobby. "What's your name?" "Angela." "Angela, why don't you tell me what's happening and we'll figure out how to help you." As Angela began her story, missing money, unexplained expenses, a boyfriend who controlled all their finances, Zara felt the familiar mix of anger and determination that powered her work. Another woman who needed help. Another opportunity to turn someone's pain into power. "Angela," she said when the story was finished, "what your boyfriend is doing is called financial abuse and it's a crime. You don't have to accept it and you don't have to handle it alone. Can you really help me?" "We can and we will." As they walked toward Zara's office to begin building Angela's case, Zara thought about the strange circularity of life. The theft that had nearly destroyed her had become the foundation for helping others survive similar betrayals. Ryan had thought he was stealing her future when he emptied those accounts. Instead, he'd given her a mission that was more meaningful than anything she could have imagined. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you becomes the catalyst for the best thing you ever do. Outside the foundation's windows, the city hummed with the energy of people building lives, chasing dreams, and fighting for better futures. Somewhere in that city, other women were discovering betrayals that would test their strength. But they wouldn't have to face those betrayals alone. The Survivors Financial Recovery Foundation would be there, built on the simple principle that no one had the right to steal another person's life, and everyone had the right to fight back. Zara's grandmother would have been proud. The earrings were coming home, but more importantly, the strength they represented had never left. It had just been waiting for the right moment to shine.